Hi everybody, and welcome to my big backyard on what is a beautiful day outside. And obviously right this second we are not in my backyard. I thought I would take a few minutes to give you a houseplant tour. Now this is going to include all the plants that I have inside right this second, plus all the plants that I've moved outside for the summer. And we're going to start right here at my propagation station because this is essentially my problem. My problem is I can't stop propagating plants. I started doing plant swaps with a group locally last year. We just trade cuttings and things back and forth. And so I end up with cuttings all the time. Big pothos, smaller pothos. I think this is Hawaii or Hawaiian is the variety. Not sure. I don't know how to identify pothos. And Hawaiian and golden look very similar from what I understand. I've got some Brazil cuttings back here that are propagating. I've got some Cebu blue pothos propagating. This is basically all I have of Cebu blue. I've never even owned the plant before, so this is terrific. I've got some mycans here propagating. And I'm trying to propagate my ZZ plant from leaves and from a whole branch, and we'll see what happens. Now here I've got a bit of a coco coir propagation bed, and down here these little sticks are Hoya, which it doesn't have any leaves on it. I'm just trying to cut it. These little leaves came off of the bottom of that, which is the top of a desert rose, which I chopped off and then I thought I would try to propagate. And this snake plant piece already propagated a baby which I have potted up, and I'm trying to propagate that again. I don't know if that'll work or not. And this, well, there's nothing here. I may as well just give this one up. It's a bit rotted. I don't think it's gonna do anything. So I give up on this little piece of moonlight. I'll throw that out later. Up here is the philodendron moonlight plant. It's pretty. The only reason I got this actually is because I wanted the pot, and it was on the death rack at Lowe's. So for $7, which is less than I would have paid for just buying a pot like that, I got a half dead plant and a pot. So I repotted it in here, and so far this is doing okay, and it should fill out nicely and become healthier over time. And here is some other previous propagations. You can see they're fairly healthy. This is, I believe, golden pothos or Hawaii. I don't know. If somebody knows the difference between golden pothos and Hawaiian, feel free to clue me in. I just don't know. Now, as we walk around the room, I do have more plants that I got started with last summer because the joys of plant swaps. So right here, I have my Manjuga. This is another pothos Manjuga, and I tried a moss pole. Moss poles for me, they kind of suck. To be honest, keeping this thing hydrated is nearly impossible. It might be because this one's hollow in the center. I drilled some holes in it, poured some water in it, but it just comes out the sides, spraying it down. There's really not a lot I've been able to do to keep this hydrated. However, my Manjuga is looking pretty healthy. I'm very pleased with that plant. Now we will move over here, but this gorgeous Swiss cheese plant, which is so very healthy, is another plant swap plant. I'm very pleased with this plant. It's nice and bushy and healthy, and what can I say? Not much. It's beautiful. So let's move on to another rescue. These down here were all rescue plants. Some of them came from plant swaps, this one and this one. One of them was a rescue from Lowe's. This one has a weird spot on it. I might have to chop this leaf off. I'm not sure what that is. But all four of these were rescued plants. The skinny one right here is the one that propagated off of that leaf that you saw over there in my propagation station. Right here you have another one of my beautiful plants. I can't exactly call it one plant though, because right here I have a number of different things. I've got a teeny bit of variegated string of pearls. It's beautiful. I did just chop it off and propagate the end somewhere. I've also got string of hearts. My string of hearts is very healthy. It just finished flowering for me. And I also have variegated string of hearts in here with it. So I keep this one in here by the window. This is an east-facing window. And I try to remember to water it once in a while. But I've propagated from it and I will be able to show you more of that outside. All right, we're also still indoors, and here is one that I got completely from plant swap pieces. This is Philodendron micans, and I love this plant. It's so soft, and I love the red underside. I just like the look of the leaves on this plant. It's just really neat. I tried to grow this one on the moss pole as well, but same troubles with the moss pole. I'm not a good plant mom when it comes to taking care of moss poles. I do have some air plants that I keep down here on this table and in the pot with my monstera. It seems like in a pot with my monstera is a good place because they get some moisture when I water the monstera. But if you look here at, my monstera is not huge, but look at the size of these most recent leaves, and the fenestrations on them are wonderful. This is the newest leaf. It only opened up last week, but it's huge. And this one was just from last month. So as you can see, it seems to be really happy in this southwest window. It's a good place to keep a monstera. So we'll see how it continues to grow here. Down in this little basket, I just have some wandering Jew and a peperomia of kind. I'm not sure what it's called. Trailing jade pothos or something like that. I don't know what this is. It's not a pothos, it's a peperonia. All right, moving on. All right, right over here we have another of my plant swap plants. This is Monstera rabidispora. It's a smaller monstera plant, as you can see. It's a different variety, and I love it. It's cute, it's small. It's gonna need to be potted up probably by the end of the summer. I just keep it in this window here. Next to it, I have a Hoya. This Hoya variety, I thought I had it labeled here, but apparently, oh, here it is. Here's the label. This is Hoya carnosa. I bought this Hoya and it's done quite well for me. It wasn't this big when I got it, obviously. I'm growing it up one of these, this is called super trellis. You put it together, it's like little octagons and stuff you put together. It's really cool looking. It seems to work well for Hoya simply because Hoyas aren't natural climbers. Like, they're not putting out air roots to hold themselves up, so I can just wind it through here. One of the things I've noticed about my Hoya though is look at how long these pieces can be, and there's no new leaves for such a distance on here. But each of these nodes I'm hoping will put out leaves. I don't know how I can see it. I can never see what's on my screen. So each of these nodes I'm hoping will put out some leaves at some point. Ooh, look at that. See, that is bad. That is called a mealybug, and I'm gonna have to take care of that. So I'll smush those and smush them. Mealybugs are typically something that if I find them, I take care of them with a little alcohol. So, but there's lots of little nodes on this, and so I'm hoping that it pushes leaves out on that very soon instead of just growing really long. Up here above it, I have a hanging pot that has 3 different Hoyas in it. This Hoya right here, the one that looks the healthiest and is growing the longest, is called Hoya carnosa compacta. That's not what I thought that was, but I think it is Crimson Queen Hoya. It's got a little pink in the leaves there. I also have down here Hoya curtisii, this little one. I don't know how well you can see that, hopefully pretty well. And I have, oh, this one's Crimson Queen Hoya right here with the variegation in the other direction and a different shaped leaf. Either that or I have them confused because, as usual with plants, I don't always know what I'm talking about. So anyway, 3 beautiful different Hoyas though. I know that much, all in the same pot. I'll have to look up and see what they are later. And over here is a mixed basket of philodendron and pothos. I've got, let's see what I have. I do have them labeled. So I've got neon pothos, which I believe is this really big one. The big leaves of the neon pothos. I've got some Brazil in here, philodendron Brazil. And I also have lemon lime pothos, which is this smaller one right here with the smaller leaves. These 2 branches are lemon lime pothos. I love the chartreuse color in here, and I actually just think the chartreuse looks really nice with my blue walls. It's not as bright as in here as it could be, so I don't know how well you can see that. All right, the next plant here is tricolor stramanthe. I haven't had this thing very long, and I'm finding it somewhat difficult to keep super nice looking. It tends to brown at the edges. I did just up pot it from a 4-inch pot to a 6-inch pot. I'm really not sure of the best way to keep it looking its best. I'm not super thrilled with just how good it looks. It just kind of looks kind of sad a lot of times. I have been trying to water it better. Right above it in this small little pot, which probably also needs water, is my string of spades. The string of spades looks very similar to string of hearts. The difference really is the shape of the leaf. Those of you who are followers of my channel will know that I am a bit obsessed with cacti and succulents. And these are all cacti that I grew from seed. These guys are about 2 years old, and I'll be moving them outside very shortly. As soon as I get my vegetables planted, I have vegetables that are taking up some of the outdoor space where these will be. I won't go into super detail about them. There will probably be another video that I do related to all my baby cacti. This shelf down here will also go outside shortly. I did not, these are seedlings, seedling mammillarias that I grew. They're a few years old. They look great. In the back, those 3 seedlings, I did not grow from seed. I bought them as small pups from a reputable source, and who knows what they're going to actually turn out looking like when they get big enough to flower. They will be going outside very shortly. And these 2 are just 2 small cactus pups that I got from somebody. They are Cactus schlosseri, and they're doing okay, but they need to go outside shortly as well. I did miss a couple of my indoor plants. I've got this ZZ Raven that I bought. I really like how the color looks against my wall. That's a crazy reason to buy a plant, but I just happen to like the dark leaves of the ZZ Raven. And on the other side of the room, I do have this small bowl of jade that just sits in the house all year long. I have a similar container of jade in a bathroom. All right, welcome to my front porch. This is where I bring a lot of my plants outside for the entire summer. And it's also where I have a big potting station. So we're gonna go up here and look at the things that I have on my front porch. Obviously, the first, biggest, most obvious thing is this plumeria. If anybody has seen the video of the plumeria that I cut back that was 9 feet tall and I made cuttings from it, this is that plumeria with the yellow flowers. Moving over here to the shelf are a lot of the things that I had inside all winter long. I've got string of pearls here. It does real well. I like the coloring when it turns purple. This is not the variegated string of pearls. This is just standard string of pearls. I've got an ogre ears jade that grows like a little tree. I love the form that this takes, and I like how it looks in that bowl there. I have a pretty sad looking string of bananas here. Actually, this isn't string of bananas, this is string of dolphins. You can see the little spikes on it, but it's just not a very happy plant. I might give that a good trim back and see if it'll come out from the middle. I've got some chocolate soldiers here about to bloom. Look at those flower buds. It's been inside all winter. I've got a kalanchoe here. Actually, technically, chocolate soldiers is a kalanchoe, and so is this. I'm not sure what this variety is, but this other chocolate soldiers is going to bloom as well. I love these fuzzy plants. They're so nice. And this one is another kalanchoe that's fuzzy. Trying to remember the common name for it, but this is the one that has the spikes along the bottom. Although mine here doesn't have super serious spikes, but you can see them there. It's a really cool plant. This little the planter here just has some rescues that I pulled from either Lowe's or Walmart. So I've got a watch chain, I've got a sempervivum, and I've got a euphorbia cluster back here. There's another little baby forming right at the base of the euphorbia. Down here's one that I haven't had the best of luck with. This is silver squill. I love the little pattern on the leaves, but this is just a very sad looking plant right now. I've got this cute little, I don't know whether these are echeveria or some kind of other version of that, but I just think that this is a cute little planter where I put it. And so I just keep leaving it there. It looks like it's a little bonsai pot. I've got Cuban oregano here. It has a really great smell. Some people actually cook with it, but I don't. I just keep it as a succulent. I have a really roughly echeveria and some other echeverias there. Turning around, up on the hanging basket is my rickrack cactus. There's a couple extra cuttings in here that I got from someone else, so there's quite a variety. This thing is very yellow right now. I'm not quite sure what to do to bring some green back to it, but it's been this way for a while. I had it in my garage all winter, which is good for it. And as you see here, look at all these spots. It may put out blooms like crazy this fall. This cactus actually blooms in October, believe it or not. So that's when I'll get flowers off of this cactus. And it bloomed for me last year, and I'm hoping it blooms for me this year. Coming around to this other shelf, I've moved my Thanksgiving, oh, this is a true Christmas cactus, I'm sure. I've moved my Christmas cactus outside to see if it does better. I've had horrible luck with Christmas cactus, to be honest. I'm just not very good at taking care of these holiday cactuses. They just look flimsy to me and don't do well. I don't know the names of everything I have because I did not label them very well, but here's that kalanchoe again. This is Stapelia giganta, I believe. The biggest one. And it's never done super well for me, but since I brought it outside, it's starting to perk up and look pretty good. This is Caudata caroluma. This will flower for me. It's looking really stressed right now, but hopefully it greens up a little bit. It does have a new little growth down there underneath. I've got a corncob cactus, an aloe. I'm not even sure what this is. It's either a type of agave, false sisal, or it's a black gem aloe, and I don't even really know. I've seen both of those in different videos from people, and I just can't tell what I have. I've got a Haworthia and some Gasteria back there. This is a peperomia called Gravelins, and I love the red and green coloration of it. I've got my baby toes back here. It does pretty well for me. Like, I haven't killed it. I just monitor it nicely. It does okay. Tiger jaw. My tiger jaws usually bloom for me and they look great. The yellow flower will look cool in the old bay can, as weird as that is. I do not have an ID on this plant. I believe it is a type of aloe or a type of agave, but it's considering how thick and meaty it is, I think aloe. This is an aloe, I think it's climbing aloe. This is an aloe called Aloe lineata. And this is Aloe burrii. Neither of them look very good, but hopefully they can perk up this year. These are cuttings that I've gotten from other plants that are gonna grow like a lifesaver plants. I'm not sure the variety, so I can't tell you. And this is that same black gem or aloe sisal, or black gem aloe or agave sisal, I don't know. And I think this is a mangave. This is another plant swap plant. It's having babies. It looks happy in its pot. We'll see what happens. My next hanging basket is a mixture of jungle cactus. These epiphytic cactus bloom for me in May and June. Hopefully I'm here for the blooms. They were in the basement, in the garage all winter because they need a bit of a cooling off period. And they're out here now, and there are a bunch of flower buds on here, so I'm just hoping that they all make it. I'm not entirely sure what the flowers will look like because there's a couple different varieties in here, and it looks like this year I have buds on different plants. Last year I had a flower right here. Both varieties that have bloomed in here so far were pink, but there were two different versions of that pink when it grew. All right, well, this is where I moved a bunch of my cuttings from my string of hearts. I've got variegated and not variegated. I've got variegated string of pearls, and I don't even remember what this plant is. I'm hoping that it roots and does well, but this is just a mixed string of pot that's barely started, and so wish it luck. I'm not even sure that it should be out here, but this is the east side of the house, and it does get shade most of the day and just right direct light, and I think it'll be okay here, not get too hot. Over here is another but bigger mixed basket of jungle cactus, epiphytic cactus, and as you can see, this one also has a large number of flower buds, which hopefully I'm not on vacation out of town when they bloom, because I would really like to be able to show you what the flowers look like, but they take forever to develop. If they don't bloom before I leave, I might miss them completely, but that's life. Right here on my potting bench, I do have a few other plants that I just have sitting out here. I have some regular plants that I'll be planting in my gardens shortly. I've got this new one here. I got this recently. This is called a fern leaf or shark's tooth cactus. It's going to be very similar to a rickrack cactus. We'll see. It's new to me. This is as much of a plant as I have, so I just have to let it go and see what happens. I got some sticks of fire at a recent plant swap that I potted up here. Back here in this pot, I've got some dancing bones ripsalis. I also put some string of pearls in there with it. I do like to mix things up. Here I have 3 at least different Thanksgiving cacti. Like I said, I'm not very good with them. This one here was the size of this one back here, and it started to just wilt and look kind of like this. These are just cuttings I'm trying to root. They're not doing very well. They may or may not root. I just stuck this cutting in yesterday because I found that lying on the ground at a plant swap. Must have fallen off somebody's plant. This here is a plant I'm really excited about and that I'm hoping does really well for me eventually. I've had this for 2 years. I propagated it, so now I have 1, 2, 3, I've got 4 different plants in here now when I started out with 1 plant originally. It's Edithcolia grandis, and it's Persian carpet flower. And if you look up the flower for Persian carpet flower, these are some of the most stunningly beautiful flowers. So what I'm really hoping is that somehow this plant decides that it likes me and eventually will flower for me. But if I want that to happen, I need to treat it for mealybugs, like this chunk of right here. I usually either pick them off by hand, like clean them off, or I use a little alcohol if I find them. So far, there's not really that many on here. It's doing okay. So, wish me luck with this one. Believe it or not, I am still on my front porch. Coming around to the other side, I have this other pot of jungle cactus here. I don't see any signs of buds on this particular set of plants. So it's not going to be flowering for me this year, but it is a decent looking pot of jungle cactus. I have some plumeria cuttings. These do not belong to me. I am watching over some plants for a friend. And I have here another Stapelia. I don't remember which one is Stapelia grandiflora and which is Stapelia giganta, but this is the other one that you didn't see over there. It kind of looks a little messy. This thing always flowers for me though every year. I don't know if it has issues with scale or something. It doesn't look the best sometimes after the winter, but we'll see how it does going forward. Behind it is an agave that I grew from seed and I leave out here in this pot year round. I don't take that in at all. And some Sansevieria or hens and chicks, which also do well outside year round. This is a plumeria that doesn't belong to me. I'm just babysitting it. Down here though, I have some agaves that I've grown from seed. They probably could use a little drink. Maybe not. I'm trying to be really careful with them. There's 3 different varieties here and I just want to see what they do. I only just started them this spring. I have some cactus cuttings that I'm rooting here that I just swapped for. I've got Opuntia Drama Queen, Opuntia Peter Pan, which will stay like this and will not even have any flowers. Drama Queen has pink flowers, I believe, and a cat that gets in the way. This other one is Opuntia caspitosa, which is very like Eastern prickly pear, so a yellow flower, but inside the yellow flower it's much oranger than your typical Eastern prickly pear, but it is cold hardy here. All 3 of these cactuses are cold hardy here, and my intent is to grow them in my outdoor cactus garden. Right here right now I have a pineapple that I'm just taking care of for a friend, and then I have 3 aloe plants that belong to me. Last year I kept all of my aloe on my back porch and it got direct sun and they did okay, but I really felt that they would do better and be healthier if I kept them in the morning light, direct light, but shaded portion of my front porch. Since moving them outside though, they've definitely colored up. I don't know if it's just the cold because there are some chilly nights, or if it's also the exposure to the sun. But this one here is just your standard aloe vera. This one is, dang, see, I'm just not very good at remembering the names of these things. Well, this is an aloe and that's an aloe. They're both different. This one has never flowered for me, and this one does flower for me. And I've never seen an aloe vera flower, so, you know, if it does, I'll be surprised. And the last of this year's front porch plants is my donkey tail burrow's tail sedum. As you can see, this variety and this variety are different, but they're both potted up in this pot, and I'm hoping to get more and lengthier growth out of the center and that this fills up a little bit this year. You thought we were done, but we are not. I keep most of my plants out here on the back deck. In fact, last year I hardly kept anything on the front porch. I just moved a bunch to the front porch this year in hopes that less direct sun might be good for those particular plants. But right up here is the first one from the front porch. I don't this is called red dragon flower. It's a hernia, and it usually blooms for me. This might be better on the front porch, but it's been on the back porch every year so far, and it's done just fine. This plant that doesn't look like anything is Gonalubus cyclophilus, or whatever. It has such a cool flower. Last year it grew for me, this year it grew for me, and I think there's a little teeny bit of green right there. I don't know. I'm hoping that it sprouts out and grows. It stays dormant like this all winter long, which always makes it look like it's gonna die and I'm gonna get nothing back. But it feels firm, and I'm hoping that it does well. I've got another cutting of this, dang, forgot the name of it. Well, I got Ripsalis plant here. I've got some Haworthia, and I've got a Mammillaria right here, and another Haworthia that I'm just taking care of for someone else. It's actually rooting right now. It was completely root rotted when I got it, so I'm just hoping that it roots its way back. I've got a pot of mixed succulents here. I like the coloration on this one especially. I've got a Mammillaria, a different Mammillaria, and a couple more Mammillarias here. I think all of these are Mammillaria varieties. This one always flowers for me. It'll be pink. I believe this has pink flowers. This has pink flowers. If it's not, this doesn't look very healthy, but we'll see what happens. And the others have not flowered for me, these two. I've got another pot of mixed succulents here. And I've got this really cool, this is a euphorbia. I don't remember the name of it, and I obviously should put a label in my pots, and I have not. And I have a bear paws right here. This thing was down to almost dead, and then it regrew because I had neglected it so badly. These 4 desert rose plants I had grown from seed. This is the one that you saw inside the house. I had topped it. One reason I topped it is because the top had mealybugs, and I just was having terrible time getting rid of the mealybugs on this plant. But as you can see by the swollen parts there, I think this is about to branch out again. This guy here looks really good. This one looks okay, and this one looks really good. I think that they are 3 different varieties, or maybe 4 different varieties, but I can't really tell until it flowers, and I've never had them flower for me yet. I've got some cool types of plants back here. I don't remember their names. So Haworthia and some other cactuses. Back here. You can definitely see some new growth on this one. This one's pushing growth like crazy. Maybe it'll flower for me. And the Perodia has flowered for me. This is the one they call balloon cactus, and it has beautiful yellow flowers. I'll put a picture of it on the screen if I remember. I've got other cactuses here that don't always do anything for me or grow very well. I like kind of what they look like. I just wish that they would actually put on some growth for me. I think I'm not taking care of them very well. There's a cactus that I'm rooting that came from a paddle in my cactus garden. That's a Puntia Mandarin Sunrise. And another Mammillaria here, which I think has pink flowers. And look at the flower buds on this. This thing is gonna push flowers. Yay! I can't wait. So looking forward to that. Okay. I got a new plant here that I got this year. This is an abutilon, which is, it's called a flowering maple. It's not really a maple tree at all, but it has maple shaped leaves, and it has beautiful flowers. It already flowered for me, and I'm sure it's gonna put out some more flowers, so I'll be sure to put some pictures in this video of what the abutilon flowers look like. They're gorgeous. You got my tomatoes that are going to go in my garden, and some other plants that I've started from seed that I'll be planting in my garden. these cuttings, all of the plumeria cuttings right here and over here, came from my friend's plumeria, the one I'm taking care of. She asked me to trim it for her and make cuttings, and so this is what a rooting cutting looks like. Basically, I just put soil in a bag, moist soil in a plastic bag, and I just let it sit in a warm place, and when I start to see growth on the plant itself, I'll know that they're rooting. Now these are harder to tell if they're rooting because these were tip cuttings over here, and tip cuttings, the leaves, it's gonna put out the leaves. I took most of the leaves, not all of the leaves, off when I trimmed it and potted it up, but now the leaves and the tips will grow. A cutting will actually flower. If it had in it, if it was going to flower this year at that end, it's gonna put out its flower and flower. But hopefully they root as well. I have fig cuttings, which I'm gonna give to a friend. Another set of fig cuttings, which I'm gonna give to a friend. And this is my top cutting from my plumeria tree that I've had already potted for a year. I took one of these cuttings. Remember, I had two. If you look in a past video, there were two cuttings that I had all last summer. I took one of them and I gave them to a friend. And then down here, this is a new plant for me. I grew this. This is a California live oak. I grew from an acorn that I picked up on vacation over Christmas time. So planted it at Christmas. Now I have a live oak tree. As you can see, the live oak tree has like little spikes, kind of like a holly tree, but it's an oak tree. Moving on to the cactus. This is my, I guess, domino cactus or Easter lily cactus, and it has buds forming at the top. It was in the garage all winter, and now it's gonna flower for me. These four I've had for quite a while. They're similar, they're Echinopsis. Just like this, it's a different variety of Echinopsis, and they've never flowered for me, and they grow very slowly. I may repot them again this year, but they don't do a whole lot, but they're alive. And this one, the pups almost look better than the mother cactus. We'll see what happens with that. So other cactuses down here, they're pretty cactuses. Hopefully they grow better. I forgot to label them. This one is a Perodia, but I don't know what variety. This one is, oh, this one's labeled Perodia rubel hamada. And this one I neglected to name what that is. I think it's a Rubutia though. These, I believe, are Rubutia pups. I had a cactus. It was a beautiful cactus. It died and I rescued the pups, and these pups have been growing in this container for the last year and a half. They keep growing. They're doing better. The other thing I have in here is a random cactus seedling. I don't know what this seedling is or how old it is, but it's alive. Here's an agave that I grew from seed. It's a different variety, obviously, than the one up front. This one will stay smaller, but I also have it in a pretty small pot. These are all Trichocereus cactuses. They will have big, beautiful, huge flowers if I can get them to stay healthy enough to flower. This one rotted once. I cut off the top and planted it, and a year or so later, here it is growing again, and it has flower buds, so we'll see if it flowers. This one and this one came from a big box store like Lowe's. These back here all came from a cactus breeder, and they are beautiful cactuses. This one's called Volcanic Sunset. I'd love for that to bloom for me, but I don't see any signs of a flower bud on it yet. Unfortunately, well, this one is lovely and it has a pup. It also got a fungus of some sort. I'm treating it for, I'm sure it's my fault, overwatering and such. So it does not look like a big healthy cactus, but in the center, it's green and growing still, and the pup itself is healthy. I just have to come outside and make sure that I treat this guy with fungicide to hopefully get it past the ugly. This one here is Betty Boom, and she has a beautiful flower and a bud for me this year, so hopefully she flowers. Dutchman's Orange is one that I can't wait to see flower because I just love the color. It's growing nicely. It's got this big growth ring at the top. I don't know why it has a dark ring around the growth ring. That's interesting, but it might grow out of that. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it's growing nicely, and maybe it'll flower for me. Who knows? This one's Flying Saucer. It's never grown much for me. It's just kind of sat here and existed. So I don't know how well that's gonna do. It looks like it needs some fertilizer. And this one here is called Apricot Glow, and I'm hoping that this guy will put out some beautiful flowers for me as well. Down on the bottom shelf, I have a jade of sorts. I don't remember the variety of this jade, but I love the color of it, and it looks nice with its bowl. It's different, and that's what I like about it. And I also have two different aloes. These have both flowered for me and probably will again. Down here is my pineapple plant that I started last year from a pineapple I ate. It's got new growth. It was inside all winter. I trimmed some of the bottom leaves off of it this year after I brought it outside. It's doing okay. I'm not sure if I need to pot it up or not, but for now I'm just gonna leave it alone. I've got some more flowers that I've started to put out in my yard. I've got a couple more cacti. These cacti just don't grow very much for me. They are what they are. They're kind of just there. I may give them away. I may keep them, undecided. Down here, there's nothing to see, but this is ginger. It's gonna grow. This is a lemon tree. A lime tree that I rescued for a friend. I'm just babysitting it, really. This is a turmeric. Obviously there's nothing to see in the turmeric. And this is a cutting that my friend gave me from her plumeria. So it'll be different than mine. This will have white flowers. Down here is a lovely mixed basket. It doesn't look like much right now, but this thing looks amazing by the end of the summer every year. It just has so much growth being out here in the sun. But right now at the end of the winter, I gave it a big haircut and cut all the leggy, stretched stuff off, because in my house in the winter, everything gets really leggy and nothing grows well. And down here is my felt bush, which is another kalanchoe. Look at the size of these leaves. It's huge. This thing will grow into an actual tree if I let it, and I probably will to a point. I'll probably let it get at least a foot higher before I cut it back and force it to bush out. I do need to maintain it at a size that I can move it around. And out here, some people have already seen, but this is my citrus collection and my avocado. I've got lemon here. The lemon has never actually produced any lemons for me, but maybe this year will be my lucky year. It does have a lot of new leaf growth right now. This mandarin here, this is a Shiranui mandarin. It should have mandarins that are, I think, approximately the size of those little cuties that people eat. So there we have that. It's looking healthy and gorgeous. This is my avocado tree. I just got this last year. I trimmed it back in a few places, and in those places it is putting out new leaves, which is fantastic. I want to kind of maintain a small size on it so I can move it around, but I want it to grow well. Over here on this side is my lime tree. My lime tree might be my most successful citrus tree so far. I've gotten limes off of it 2 years in a row. Here are some flowers now for this year and a whole bunch of new leaf growth for this year, and some flowers budding right there. So as long as the pollinators keep coming, There's some limes formed down there. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I get limes in another 10 months. And here is my other mandarin tree. This has a much bigger fruit on it. If the fruit was like this big. I had 2 mandarins from last year. It did really well for me. Right now there's no flower buds on it at all, but there's a ton of new green growth, and that's what I want. Really, the tree needs to reset itself. It had so much growth and so much, those 2 mandarins took a lot out of it last year. For a tree this small to have 2 giant fruit like that is pretty impressive. Anyway, that's it for all my indoors / outdoor plants, really. And the next tour will be something outside or something more specific. Who knows? To be honest, it's probably going to be my vegetable garden next week. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed your stop by my big backyard and enjoyed seeing my entire plant collection. And hopefully you come back again. Have a great week.